It's easy to miss how clever the Pharisees and Herodians were in constructing their trap in our gospel, and how cleverly Jesus escaped it. First of all, they managed to work together, which was no small feat. These two groups, the Pharisees and the Herodians, were diametrically opposed on almost every issue except one. They hated Jesus. The Pharisees were dedicated to the Jewish law and opposed Roman rule. The Herodians, as their name implied, supported King Herod, a puppet of the Roman Empire. If Jesus said to pay the tax, he was, in the view of the Pharisees, submitting to what they saw as an unjust rule and contributing to a state that actively encouraged idolatry. Then the Pharisees would have grounds to denounce him and turn people against him. If he said not to pay the tax, he was in violation of Roman law, and the Herodians could turn him over to the Romans. This trap was sprung in the temple. And if you remember, the Jewish people had money changers whose job it was to take the Roman money and to give out other currency. Caesar had made himself a god, and a coin that bore the image of a foreign god was an idol, and bringing an idol into the temple was absolutely forbidden. So when this trap was sprung, Jesus simply asks to see a Roman coin. And the Pharisees and Herodians helpfully bring out a Roman coin, a coin with the graven image of a pagan god in the temple. To make sure nobody missed what was going on, Jesus asked, "Whose image is this?" And they, probably shamefully, replied, "Caesar's." In their grand effort to entrap Jesus, they had just admitted to idolatry. Not surprisingly, the coin so crucial to the trap of the Pharisees and the Herodians is also a perfect image when their hypocrisy is brought to light. What better image for what holds us back in this life than money with the image of a powerful earthly leader on it that is also an idol? But since Christ's goal was to teach them, not to trap them, he continued, "Repay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar." In other words, be a good citizen. An unexpected sentiment for a Messiah who many expected to be a revolutionary. But he added, "Repay to God what belongs to God." Christ said the coin should be paid to Caesar because it bears his image. In that case, whatever bears God's image should be repaid to God. And what bears God's image on earth but each and every one of us? Each of us was made in the image of God, and it is therefore our whole selves that we owe to him, our very lives, our heart, mind, soul, and strength. And it is a blessing on this World Mission Sunday to support those who do this in such a powerful way. But I've been learning more recently about a young man on his way to sainthood who is a great model for us today in that calling to give our whole lives over to God. His name is Blessed Carlo Acutis, and he was beatified last Saturday in Assisi. Carlo Acutis was born in 1991, the same year I was born. Unfortunately, his parents were not really practicing their faith, only going to church a few times a year. Much to his mother's surprise, after Carlo received his first Holy Communion, he insisted on going to Mass every single day. In order to avoid her 8-year-old walking alone through the streets of Milan, his mother often went with him. He sought out the lonely and the marginalized in his school and made sure that they were not forgotten. When he got a PlayStation, he told his parents that he had decided on his own to limit himself to 1 hour of video games a week so as not to become too attached. As he grew older and started to realize that there was something unique about his love for our Lord and for the Mass, he put one of his passions to work to correct that, using his budding and incredible computer skills to set up a website that chronicles all of the Eucharistic miracles around the world, a website that is still up today. Carlo died from leukemia on October 12th, 2006, at age 15. It's easy to rationalize, to say, sure, but the saints are special. I'm not called to that. And that is why we need our first reading. As the Israelites were approaching the Babylonian exile, Isaiah gave a prophecy of their eventual return to the Promised Land. He predicted that an anointed one, in Hebrew, a Messiah, would save the day. But that Messiah wasn't another prophet. He wasn't a warrior like Samson or of David's royal line. He was King Cyrus of Persia, a pagan king who would overthrow the Babylonians and send the people of Israel home with money to rebuild Jerusalem. If God can call Cyrus of Persia, he can and does call us. Paul reminds the Thessalonians today that they and we have been chosen by God. As Blessed Carlo was approaching death, he said, "I am happy to die because I have lived my life without wasting a minute on those things which do not please God. I am happy to die because I have lived my life without wasting a minute on those things which do not please God." What could be a better example of repaying to God what belongs to God? But how often do we give ourselves to things that don't even deserve belongs to Caesar, let alone what belongs to God? We become numbed to the presence of idols in our lives, just as numbed as the Pharisees and Herodians, who, without even thinking, brought that idol into the temple. I think Carlo's words are a great way to end each day, to have them written down by our bed and to ask ourselves every night, am I happy to go to sleep because I have lived this day without wasting a minute on those things which do not please God? And if not, how can I do better tomorrow? How can I grow towards our calling of repaying to God what belongs to God? Because we, like Blessed Carlo Acutis, shouldn't settle for less.